All right, Eric, I am so happy to host you today on Associated Black Charities Equity First. It's actually the Diane Bell McCoy Equity First Speaker
Wow.
Series, where we talk to impressive, amazing people like yourself who have kept equity and racial equity in particular in the forefront of their career journey. So, first of all, Eric Brockman, welcome to ABC.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. The work that you all are doing is tremendous. I'm overly excited to be here. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
I'm
for
so
it.
glad you agreed to have this sit down with us
Mhm.
because I want to learn more myself and then also to have others learn more about the wonderful work you're doing in Baltimore, Maryland, and beyond, and how many lives you're impacting. So I want to turn it over to you with a
Okay.
really hard question first. And I want to
Okay.
ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, let me see. So I'm a country boy. I was born and raised in Dumfries, Virginia.
Uh-oh,
We
okay.
had an outhouse,
Oh,
chicken coop.
oh,
We drank our water from the ground, took baths and everything like that. That's how I was raised.
okay.
And I made it. I made it through high school. I was labeled as LD, learning difficulty, or they call it special ed now. I believe that's what it's called, or I forgot what they call it nowadays. But so I made it through high school with a 1.6
Hmm.
GPA. They graduated me. I think that's a D minus or something like
Okay,
that.
so you just skated past, right?
They just pushed me through,
Okay.
right? And the thing was is that I was thinking that I was more than what I was. I was like I was a football player, basketball player, ran track, all those things. And I applied for different colleges, thinking I could get a scholarship. And it was like, nah, you
Mm,
can't. Your grades are not there, and you're not that good of an athlete, you know.
mm.
So I didn't want to.
Humbling.
Yes, it was very humbling. So I could barely read or write. Um, so my one of my instructors and special ed teachers had me write a letter to Hampton University to see if I can get into Hampton, right? So they came back with a letter and it was like, we have 1,000 applicants for every seat,
Hmm.
right? And your GPA is very low. You can't get it. We don't can't get on your GPA. Well, why don't you try Elizabeth City State University? So I sent a letter to Elizabeth City State University. They invited me to the open house. I missed the open house because I was poor. I didn't have any money.
Hmm.
So eventually, what happened was I made it. I just my story is it's a long story, but I made it to Elizabeth City. Showed up. They didn't even know I was coming. They didn't have an application. They didn't have my transcript or anything, and I just showed up. And they admitted me for one semester to bring my GPA up.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they give you that
they
opportunity
gave me
to
that. Yeah,
qualify.
yes, exactly. But
Okay,
they wasn't supposed to
all right.
because they never heard of me. I just showed up.
Wow, that's amazing. So I've heard that you've been quoted as saying that attending an HBCU saved your life, changed your life.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
it sounds like this is a miracle story. So you showed up, no money,
No money, no
no
application, no,
application, and
no.
what did they do for you?
So basically, what happened was the administrator they called me back in their office and they was like, I read your transcript and we had to write a letter right there of why we came to Elizabeth City State University. And I couldn't read or write, so I just wrote what I could. And she was like, Mr. Brockman, you could barely read, you could barely write. How did you get here? So it's a long story. I won't tell that story. I got it written on my website, so you
Okay,
can go to the
okay, we're
website.
going to the
It's a
website
long
because
story.
now I'm intrigued. I feel like I need to
Yeah,
know what happened, but
yeah,
okay. All
yeah.
right, so
Focusorg.org.
okay, focusorg.org.
Yes,
And we're going to share that as well a little bit later. But HBCU, so you're
yeah.
now in this culturally rich
Hmm.
environment full of Black people, Black
Yes,
leaders,
yes,
Black professionals who are really invested in you as a Black person, Black man to thrive. What did that
yeah.
feel like? How was that for you?
Well, it was. I really didn't know anything about colleges,
Mm-hmm.
um, and getting to Elizabeth City and having them invest in me, they was like, we're going to accept you because of how you got here,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's we've never heard of a story like that before, you just showed up, so we know that you want to be here.
Yeah.
So so the dean was like, admissions gave me we're going to give you a semester, and what happened was they gave me a young lady who went around in my classes and took notes for me, helped me with my homework.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. They at the end of the day around 5 o'clock, I went to a special class where they had an instructor there that helped me with my reading and writing. There was a couple other individuals in the class as well, but they really took the time to invest in me, to teach me how to read and write, how to do do critical thinking and all those things. So 4.5 years later, I finished with a bachelor's in mathematics and a bachelor's in computer science.
So you didn't even go light with it. Now you
No.
got mathematics and computer science from someone who,
yeah, this
right? You know,
yeah,
you didn't
yeah.
go and just like me get a social sciences degree
No.
trying to take it. Right? You went and really went hard with it.
And
Oh
the
my
story
goodness.
behind that is crazy too, because I was like, I wanted to. The lady asked me, what do you want to major in? And I'm like, what is that? She was like, you get a degree at the end of college, right? So I was like, I don't know, I like math, but I like computers, and this was in '84, so computers are just.
You had a Commodore. You didn't
Yeah.
even have
Well,
a computer,
no,
did
I
you?
didn't have any
Right,
computers.
okay,
No,
but that's what they
I
had
was just
back in
telling them that.
Yeah, okay.
I heard about computers,
Right.
right? So the lady was like, she said, well, why don't you major in math? I was like, well, I like computers. And she was like, well, major in computers. I was like, well, I don't know, because I'm good in math, right? She said, well, major in both. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
She said, Mr. Brockman, she looked me in the eye, she said, Mr. Brockman, she says, it's not crazy. You can do it. I believe in you. And at the end of the 4 years, I'm going to be on the other side of the stage, and I'm going to give you a hug. And I'm going to tell you that I told you so. And at the end of 4.5 years, she hugged me and she said, wow. I told you so.
So I'm lingering here because this is such an inspirational story that I think other people can hear and identify with, just having amazing, unexpected things happen to propel you to whatever's next for you. Were you the first person in your family to pursue college?
And I had a first cousin in my immediate family. Yes, I'm the only one who, my sister, out of my brothers and sisters, the only one who attended college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, just because I have to know, what was your plan B? So had you shown up and they said no?
I didn't have a plan B.
No plan B.
Yeah, when you read the story of how I got there, you'll see I didn't have a plan B at all.
Okay.
It was really, as in '83, and my car broke down in North Carolina, in the middle of North Carolina, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and some country boys drove past me in a pickup truck with gun rags. It's really amazing story.
We're definitely going to send people to read the story. So I have a question, because we know specifically as Black professionals how important the concept of mentorship and sponsorship is, to have people that we can look up to, that we can attach ourselves to, that can help bring us along. I have, in my life and in my professional career, I can count a number of mentors, starting with my own mother, but then other people, specifically women, and for me, that I've encountered along my path that I would point out and say, I am because of you. Who are your mentors? Who do you count as mentors?
You're not going to believe this, but I'm going to tell you. Congressman Glenn Ivey.
Okay.
We grew up in the same neighborhood.
Oh.
And he was a senior, I was a freshman. And he would come to my house and get me. We would go play basketball. He would just mentor me, spend time with me. And it was like, he was Glenn in our high school, he was like the brain. He was like the top graduate, and he would help me with my math, with my homework and things like that. And I always remember Glenn always to take time out to come and get me and take me down to the park and spend time. He was my major influence.
Okay.
And one other, I had a close friend, Marshall Trotter. We were actually in the same learning class, special class and stuff like that. But he was a lot more athletic than I was.
Okay.
But he was like my brother, so we spent a lot of time together. Outside of my family, like mom and stuff like that.
Okay. So as you are aware, because you've been such a wonderful supporter of ABC, but in 2023, we show up as a true racial equity organization, looking at all of the ways that structural racism has impacted the lives and the trajectory of Black people, Black families, and the Black community. And of course, there are major ways and major barriers that have been created in the racial wealth gap. We look at workplace discrimination, access to housing, access and equity in healthcare, education, and of course, we're looking at our criminal justice system, police reform, criminal justice reform. And so ABC has race in the forefront. How has race played a role in your life from young till today? How has race factored in your life?
It's been a huge factor. One of the things that my grandmother taught me is that you have to be twice as good
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yes.
Yes, you know. So that's why I have my 2 degrees, right? I have multiple degrees now, but you know, that's one of the reasons why I fought. So the thing is, and also being a minister at New Psalmist, I'm in charge of the prison ministry.
Okay.
So I see that
I didn't know
inequity
that.
yeah. all the time, you know. So how having people of my race really taking the time out to help me and to guide me has been very, very important. And the other thing is that I had white people that really helped me. And in my story, you'll see that there were white people that helped me in what you wouldn't expect, but they did in that time frame. So I didn't experience a lot of racism, but I did experience some. But most of the time, I had people that really wanted to help.
So that is so interesting. I want to zero in on race and racism because, you know, people look at me and I've shared some of my journey. I'm from New York, but I grew up for the most part in the Mid-Hudson Valley. And I grew up amidst a number of troubling times. And I tell people I went to the same high school as Tawana Brawley.
Yeah,
so if you know, so that kind of describes some of my experience where I was one of very few people of color in some of the schools that I attended. And so racism is not new to me. It didn't take me into adulthood to experience it. I remember some of the most early encounters I had with racism and having to deal with race and having to acknowledge my blackness and having to reconcile that and what life would be for me because of that. So I want to hear just a little bit about your experiences with racism, whether they were your own or things that you observed kind of during your journey.
So my youth I spent around us. So my racism, when I ran and encountered it, happened when I started my job.
Okay.
So in the workplace, and I had people that really they acted like they wanted to help you, but when it comes down, they was really trying to get rid of you. So I had I know when my first job out of college. I was working for the Department of Energy, and it was this one company. I was applying for a job. I was working. It was a contract, so I was applying for the job. And what happened was this one company started sending letters to the people that I was applying for, telling them not to hire me.
Oh my goodness!
We had to sue them.
Oh wow!
And it was all racism.
Yeah.
It was this pure racism. So and of course we won the case. And they had a cease and desist letter and things like that. But I couldn't understand why this person did it. But it was I didn't even know them, you know. But bottom line was that I was just being profiled in that job. And the second, I think there was a couple times I was working for a large firm, and they were the firm was founded in the 1800s. Right, so of course they have that mentality. So a lot of the managers and things like that, it was predominantly white prestigious firm that I was working for. They didn't even know how to deal with black people. They hired us, but they had no idea about the cultural differences. And then so when you try to talk to them, they didn't want to hear that. It was like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But I'm like, I'm handicapped here because you're not giving me what I need. So those things right there, mainly in my job, my career, that I faced that. And there was an incident where I was working on a contract, and my manager called me from a contract. I had to go all the way to Virginia because I was in Maryland. I had to go all the way to Virginia. And they had HR and a couple other people around the table. I was an engineer at the time, and I was engineering this major multi-million-dollar project. And I was implementing some unorthodox things. That's how we think. We think unorthodox. And man, they lit into me. This one engineer, white engineer, he lit into me. You don't do it this way. You don't do this. And then we was implementing a Juniper system. And what happened was the Juniper engineer was there, right? So he was just going in at me, and he was like, and the manager and the HR people was there. So then I said, well, why don't you just ask the Juniper engineer? So the Juniper engineer said, well, technically he's correct. I knew what I was doing because I was working with another Juniper engineer implementing their system.
Yeah.
So he could.
But you had to lend on somebody else to justify.
Exactly. Why? You know, I shouldn't have had to do that. So anyway, mostly in my career, I ran into that.
Well, you mentioned something about the corporate culture not giving you or Black people what they needed to succeed. And that, to us, and how we define it at ABC, is all about what equity is.
Yeah.
You know, we have kind of pushed away from the concept of equality being giving everybody the same thing, because we know that does not work, that is not successful, and really looking at what it means to give people what they need to be successful, and specifically for us, for Black people, to be able to thrive. So I'm so excited to pivot the conversation into focus.
Oh, okay.
To talk about focus, for you to share with us and those who are joining us with information, your inspiration, what it is, what it does, who it helps, and anything you'd like to share about focus.
Oh, wow. That's my love. So focus originally stood for Focus on Children United for Success. We were founded in 1994 as the original STEM, because my degrees are in math and computer science. So I wanted to teach young children math and computers. So eventually what happened was we pivoted and started going after the certifications, the computer or tech certifications, because I noticed that when I received my first certification, my salary jumped like $25,000, right? And I'm like, man, this would be good if we can get, at the time, this was in 1994, there wasn't a lot of Black people in tech.
Yes.
So I said, man, if we can get more people, Black of color, in tech, we can change people's lives, right? So we changed. I decided to change the name to Focus on Communities United for Success because of the children, you know. And then I started teaching the certifications, and we just took everyone, you know, if they had a criminal background, it doesn't matter, we took them, because I was reflecting on how people made exception for me, right? And the thing is that I saw how people's lives was changing. They went, you know, from making, I think it was $7.50 an hour back then, to making like $15 an hour, you know, so that made a huge difference. So Focus, the mission and vision of Focus is to create generational wealth in the Black community. And what we're doing is we're creating a workforce, IT workforce. We're taking that workforce and we're putting them in the field through their own companies that we create. So we have several companies, Focus Staffing Agency, Focus Consulting Services, and other companies. We put them through those companies. They generate revenue, and that revenue they get to share it because they own the companies.
They own percentages of the companies.
Yes, exactly. You know, so it's like they're actually working for someone else, but they're actually working for themselves. And we take that revenue and we use that to purchase abandoned homes, dilapidated homes, or revitalize those homes for our students to be able to live in. And this is the whole premise behind it. We don't want, we want people to be able to own their homes, right? The company actually owns the home, and they own the company. So they'll never have to worry about being evicted, foreclosed on, or losing their home.
Right. Or even it personally affecting their credit and those kind of things. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So walk us through what the program actually looks like. How would somebody access it, be approved to participate, and then what does it actually look like day by day or week by week?
Sure. What you go to our website, focusorg.org, and you fill out an application, And when you fill out the application, it has a few questions. Well, you'll receive an email asking you to schedule an interview with us. So we do a personal interview with the individual, ask them some questions about themselves. Why do they like tech? Why do they want to be in the technology field? A lot of people want to be in cybersecurity.
Okay.
Right. So the issue is that you want to jump straight to cybersecurity without understanding computers or
The
data.
basics.
Yeah, the basics.
Okay.
You got to understand the basics
Okay.
if you want to be good in the field.
Yes.
Right. So so after they fill out the application, they go through the interview process, and the panel will vote to accept them into the program. And very rarely we don't accept people in the program. But
and who's on the panel?
So I have other students, that former students that's on the panel. I have several of my board members that's on the panel, and we have individuals that are part of the organization, but like a volunteer fashion.
Okay.
That's on the panel.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
So you go through the panel, they
Mhm.
approve you.
Yeah.
What is the typical demographic of who participates? Age range, race,
Mhm.
gender?
So it's 18 to 36, and so far it's been 100% African American.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So we don't discriminate. If you want to apply, we'll interview you. But right now we focus on Baltimore City.
Okay.
So it's been 100% African American.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so now you're in the program,
Mhm.
18 to 36, which I think is interesting in itself, right?
Mhm.
Because someone who's in their mid 30s is going to have more life experience that could
Yes.
also support someone who's 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And putting them in a classroom situation together is really interesting.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you brought that point up. It's two things about that. One is that you have the older generation, the 36, 35, 34-year-olds.
I sure hope that's not the older generation. Go ahead. I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. So they are able to help and guide the 18, 19, 20-year-olds and stuff. And man, the camaraderie there, you wouldn't accept, you think different generations, Gen Z, Gen X, you think different, but they really laugh and joke and have fun with each other. And I enjoy it. All right. I try to have competition with them and stuff like that. So so the thing is with that is that the young people really gravitate towards the older generation. Well, the older people, older students.
Those
in the
with
class,
a little more experience.
A little more experience.
Yeah.
and the second issue is that when we try to find them jobs, because we are a nonprofit and we say we train underserved, underprivileged individuals, companies have a negative view on that, and it's like, no, a lot of these young people have work experience. They work for Amazon, they work for McDonald's or a place like that. All we're doing is changing their career into tech. So you're really getting a professional. I'm teaching them how to be professional. I'm teaching them how to understand the nuances of the IT field. I'm taking my 40 years of experience and I'm trying to pour into them. That's
You're also really changing their atmosphere, which
Yeah.
I think is important, because a lot of people who are at Amazon or McDonald's or these places may not, like your original story, have had the benefit of going to a four-year college.
Yes.
May not have had the opportunity to do that. And I think, we have to be so careful with terminology and the stereotyping that happens. I'm a fan of underserved, and we know that there are disadvantaged communities, but you're right. When we say that directly, people form a picture.
Yes.
Of the most, disadvantaged, someone who has
someone who's drug addict,
who's an addict,
coming from
homeless,
prison,
homeless, and really, what those words lead to is more about lack of access.
Yes.
It doesn't characterize whether or not, I had this conversation the other day that just because someone is at high risk doesn't mean they don't speak proper English,
Yes.
or that they don't have family values, or that they don't come from a situation where they want more.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
But we associate certain people through our biases with the most, picture of hardship, and then we just determine that they shouldn't have the opportunity for
don't
more.
Want to take a chance,
right?
Yeah. And the students that we have been able to get hired, interviewed, I mean, they've gotten raises, they've gotten promotions and things like that. It's like all I ask a lot of companies to do. I just want you to interview my students. I'm not asking you to hire them. I'm telling when you interview them, I'm telling you, you're going to want to hire them because what
You're
the reason
preparing them for that.
exactly, and
Yes.
the thing is that you're getting someone who's hungry, who wants to be in the field. You're getting someone that's has loyalty and that they really have a desire to work in the field. You're not getting someone that's pompous or arrogant or anything like that. So why not bring that person in and give them an opportunity? I asked them to hire them through our staffing agency to generate the revenue so we can purchase the homes. We have a 10% fee. It's not a astronomical fee. That fee is used to help us train more students, right? What it is, they're getting a professional. They're getting an individual who is loyal. They're getting an individual who wants to work, who's going to be on time, and who's going to work late, because that's what I instill in them. I said, I pride myself on being the best of the best, right? I'm what you call an industry thought leader as well. People come to me for my advice. So I try to instill in them that if you want to be the best of the best, you're going to have to be up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning studying.
Listen, you speaking to the choir over here. I try to tell people that all the time, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're also, I think, creating discipline with the program.
Yes.
So the program is requiring certain commitments and certain levels of, making sure you're on time and in place and those things. And so those are all things that are also training for career.
Yes, discipline.
Yes.
So I tell my students, this is a job. This training is a job. You want to look at it as a job. You want to treat it as a job. So you don't come to work late, right? You don't miss a lot of work, and you don't make excuses. When you have homework that's due, it's due. Well, I didn't get a chance to. My dog, and I had to learn this by the hard way because a lot of people, my cat got cancer and I can't make it to class. That's no excuse. I didn't make excuses in my life, and I don't accept those excuses.
Well, and to me, you're the best kind of mentor, right? Because you're not speaking figuratively. You're leaning on how you've had to travel toward your own success, and then sharing that with some of the students, which I think is great. So the program, how many weeks is it? What's the time commitment?
We focus on them getting certified. We don't. You have programs that focus on them getting trained.
Okay.
We want you certified.
Okay.
That's what's going to change your life.
So however long it takes?
Yeah. So it's a 6-month program. In the evening is 6 months because it's part-time, 3 days a week.
Okay.
Right. And the daytime at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum here, that's a 5-month program to get them certified in the program because it's 5 days a week.
And what's the class size approximately?
So we try to keep our class size small, between 15 and 20 students.
Okay.
So this day class here has around 10 students because people that applied they couldn't come through in a day. So we gotta do more marketing to get more people that can come during the day because they got to pay bills.
Yes. So, and that's important because you're meeting people where they are.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So we know that there are going to be natural barriers and obstacles, probably more for Black people.
Yes.
Just because of the systems that are created through racism. And so, are you able through community support to meet those needs? Transportation, childcare. How do these things show up as barriers to?
Yeah, so we do put those things in our grant proposals, like stipends and things like that. So, and we help our students with transportation monthly if they need like monthly transportation tokens and things like that. So we do help them with that. We even, if they need like childcare or something, we help them with that. Whatever their needs are. We had one young lady, she was facing eviction, and she needed $400 to help keep her from being evicted. So we was able to help her with that. And all that's built into the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So no cost to any of the participants to come through the
program.
No
cost. They get laptops. They get all the training materials. They get learning management software. And I tell them, all I want you to do is to show up and study. And that's all. And, I don't want you to have to pay for anything. I don't want you to have to worry about your lights getting turned off or something like that. Show up and study. We have the 6-month and the 4-month program, and our students get we focus on them getting certified. And once they get certified, we have branches where they become a lifetime student. They get training for free.
So they can continue to recertify and see the next levels.
We have a couple of students that are studying for their Security Plus. They got the A+. Now we're going to teach them the Security Plus. I have some of my coworkers who've been in the field for 10, 20 years they teach remotely the Security Plus. So we buy the books and all those things, so they can get as many certifications as they want. And what happens is I impugn my reputation because I know a lot of people in the field, and I represent them and say, listen, this person you want to hire, you want them in the field. So we they get, once they finish getting their certification, they become a lifetime student. They can be 40, 50, 60 years old, come back and get certified in anything they want. Right. The other thing is they become student partners. So what that means is that they get certain students that have participated fully and haven't missed a lot of classes and helped their other students. They get a certificate, a certified certificate that's notarized, saying that they are a student partner, and they get ownership in all of the companies that.
So that's how you get those small percentages.
Yes.
So that's something for them to aspire to.
Yes, exactly.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So you are literally changing the lives of Black people, specifically in Baltimore, I'm assuming, so Baltimore City predominantly, like one life at a time, but also you're changing what the industry starts to look like, right? Because as we infuse trained and certified Black IT professionals into the industry, now we're creating more diverse workforce, we're creating different perspectives in workforce, and we're also putting people in place that can then reach back for more people that look like them.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
And not just that, we also are changing the economy of Baltimore.
Okay, talk about that a little bit.
So how we do that is that your young people are able to live in homes and buy homes and buy property and own this property. But like I said, the corporation owns it. So let's say we buy 100 homes and we have our students live in those homes. That's going to they have increased their salaries, so that's the tax base has increased, right? And then you're getting rid of the dilapidated homes because they've been rebuilt.
Right, this vacant housing crisis that we have.
Yes.
So you're So this is amazing, and I must tell you that here in Baltimore, and I want to get your lens a little bit on where you think support for Black community is in Baltimore, and how we could do better or what's working really well. But one of the things I've been talking about throughout Baltimore recently, as we hear all the sirens in the background, knowing that we're actively working to rebrand the city, to I think uplift what's so good about the city and what's working well, is that as we talk about some of the things that work well in Baltimore, the beautiful arts culture, the diversity, the opportunities that exist for leadership, sometimes we're not describing everyone's Baltimore.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes the things that we tout as wonderful successes in this great city are not accessible by and for everyone. And so, I'm on this kind of bandwagon about what does it look like to create everyone's Baltimore. As you think about Baltimore and you've done your work here and how it shows up for Black people, what are your thoughts about that?
So, I think we're on the right track. The barriers are so systemic. It's so steeped. It's become a part of the culture. So changing it didn't happen overnight. So changing that culture is going to take. I look at Baltimore as my tribe, right? And I'm like an elder of the tribe, right? So it's going to take a lot of elders, to really step up and to. You don't necessarily have to give your money, but be there. So I also mentor. Or I have, I call them my god kids. Right? So I have several godchildren that I mentor. I take out. We go out to dinner and go to movies. So I try to do my best to do as much as I can with the young people, and we need more elders to really step out and help young people And I think that will begin to maneuver and change the culture. I think the administration is doing, to me, I believe they're doing a great job. And they can't please everybody. You can't please everybody, of course.
It's a lot to fix.
Oh yes,
Yes.
it is. But the other thing is that and I think what I've noticed when our students first come to class, they don't trust each other.
Oh, wow.
They don't want to open.
Do they trust you in the program?
Well, they're getting to know me.
Yes, that's building.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. And that's the reason why they don't know each other, right? And so even though I have icebreakers and I have over a period of time, I try to get them to form a bond so they start to trust one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, I said, all of you are going to be running a company one day, a focused company. You have to trust each other. So what happens is that over the course of the program, they begin to trust each other. I have outings. I take them outings. And
So there's some social engagement.
yes,
as well. Okay.
yes. They have to have that so they can begin to trust, and then they start to open up to one another. So that's the biggest thing about Baltimore. That's a cosmic. Seeing those young people, that's what's happening with Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
We don't trust each other. We don't trust each other. I don't trust that person. I don't trust politicians.
Right.
So I'm not even going to do.
So I won't participate at all.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And even if you just get 2 or 3 young people and mentor them or help them in some kind of way, you're making a change. Right. And so that's the problem. It's the trust. We don't trust each other, and if you don't have trust, you're not going to have participation.
So you are one of the shining examples of what's good in Baltimore, and I'm so glad that we can highlight that. How many young people have come through your program?
So far we've had about 100 students come to our program, and we stay engaged with them. We use WhatsApp. We have a channel, alumni channel, so I'm constantly posting and things like that. And not only that, I try to, even though a lot of them didn't get their certification, I try to find a way to hire them for the Focus program.
Okay, so
I stay in their life.
Yes, so that you can keep them attached to not just the program, but to you.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And eventually, try to get them to get their certification.
Yes. So, big question that I'm sitting here thinking about: did you leave corporate America to do this, or
No,
how did this work out for you?
I'm ready to leave corporate.
Oh, you still work?
I still work.
You still have a job?
Yes.
How is that?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I'm up at 4:00 in the morning.
So you are still working in the industry which actually helps to keep your reputation and your connectedness in the forefront. But that is amazing.
Yeah.
So this is your next thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have staff?
We do have staff.
Okay.
And you know what? Running a nonprofit or running a corporation, I had no idea salaries is big. They eat up a big chunk.
Oh yeah, operations just to keep the ball rolling. It's a lot.
Yeah, and so what happened is that the work has become so overwhelming. I'm trying to hire people that will come in with integrity.
Yes.
And really, with my guidance, really make this the Focus program expand.
Okay.
Right.
Do you think if you were able to be here full time, it would expand quicker?
I believe so. I believe it would, but it's still a lot of work.
Okay.
Right? It's a lot of work. I create my own training materials.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's curriculum development.
Yeah, all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So and the biggest thing, like Melissa, she was a former student. She got her certification. She became a partner. She's my first student partner, right? And she actually quit her job she got an IT job. She quit her job and came back to Focus to become an instructor.
Okay. So you're cycling people back through that.
So she's getting a salary. She's
Yes.
an instructor. She understands the Focus program, and she's an owner.
Yes.
So we're trying to get as many of our students to do the same thing as possible. As soon as we get them certified, we want them to become instructors so they can teach more and we can expand.
That's how we multiply the impact. Oh, this is so exciting. How can people get connected to Focus again? Let's get the information.
So you can go to our website, www.focusward.org, and you can send me an email there, or you can reach me at ebrockman@focusorg.org. you can even send your resume to hr@focusorg.org, and we'll take your resume, take a look at it, and see if we can find you a job.
And is it rolling admissions, or is there certain times of the year that people start?
Right now, it's certain times of the year, and the only reason why it's not enrolling, we would like to have it be enrolling, but it's just the funding. That's if we get the funding,
yes,
man, this is going to really change lives. And I always say focus is Baltimore is the prototype for focus.
It is. It is.
Once we refine it, then we're going to duplicate it throughout America.
Yes.
Detroit, New York.
I was going to say there are cities across the country that have the same sort of demographic makeup as Baltimore, being the case study site, but also the same disparity.
Yes.
Right? Where you have a preponderance of Black people in the population, but a disproportionate amount of Black people in low-wage, low-paying, the most low-wage, low-paying jobs, which is what we work to try to call out and then fix. I don't think it's good enough anymore to put Black people into jobs. It is what you are describing. How do we get Black people into professional level jobs with professional level salaries and prime them for executive leadership and ownership?
Exactly.
That's a whole different conversation. And I must say that, I know all too well how under-resourced Black-led and Black-focused nonprofit organizations are. And unfortunately, while we have a very generous philanthropic landscape, the funds tend to cycle through those same organizations, right?
Exactly.
The same ones that have been maybe, doing great work, doing it for a long time, and it's very difficult to break into that philanthropy. And this is my all call to corporate and philanthropy to support this work, because there's impact happening directly. I'm looking at the camera. Impact happening directly on lives, and we need to support this work and this gentleman's sacrifice, because once we do that, there'll be more people like him that step up and do similar work. So we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but I want to talk about lessons learned. So if you could share lessons that you've learned as a Black man navigating life and your journey into your career, your professional life, but then also as the leader of Focus. What are the lessons that you've learned that you think can help other people who might be tuning in with us?
So, in moving into my career, coming out of Elizabeth City, I was prepared academically, but I was not prepared for the corporate world.
Okay.
Right? So, I think if I had had someone who was in the professional world, in the corporate world, who mentored me to help me to see what I would be facing, that would be great. So that would be something that I would recommend to people. With Focus, I think I'm a technologist. I'm in the computer field.
Yes.
So I don't know much about psychology. I don't know much about barriers that people face and the mental capacity, the things that people go through mentally, right? So I had to learn these things, and that's why I'm looking at YouTube videos, I'm reading books and things like that to learn how I can better help someone. So when you talk about lessons learned, I've learned that you cannot look at a person and say they're not capable.
That is deep. There's a lot to that.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That is what disinclusion is all about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. People looked at me and said I wasn't capable. I had a teacher that once said, "You're gonna wind up in jail." I'm in high school and I'm just walking down the office, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Why are you not in jail?"
Wow.
And it's like those types of people, you use them as fuel to really accomplish your goals. That's my fuel, right? When people say the negatives and the haters and things like that, I always tell, as far as young people, they get into the program, and when they start getting into the nitty-gritty of the studying and all that, they start to lose heart, because it's like,
it's not easy, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy. So one of the takeaways from that is that I learned that I had to give them a mentor. I had to put them in teams students, and some of the older mixed with the younger, and a team of 5 individuals. And then I insist that they meet with each other, they work with each other outside of class, and so that has improved the retention rate as well. You know, so dealing with as far as the leadership of Focus, plan better. I take people at face value. So a lot of times people don't have good intentions, and I've learned that.
Gotta be careful.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've learned that. I'm a very loving and caring person. I want to help, right? But people take advantage of that. I don't really care about them taking advantage because my blessings come from God, right? And I always tell people, I said, I'm gonna give you an opportunity. You can take advantage of me and not capitalize on the opportunity, but it's not going to take away from what the Lord has blessed me with.
That is absolutely right.
Right? I don't need for anything. I don't want for anything. I make well over 6 figures. I'm here to help you, and you're not paying me. Right? I always tell my students, this program is free. The door is open. You can leave if you want to. Right?
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's not.
Yes.
You know. So and I tell them straight up. I said, you know, you're not. I'm here because I love you. When they meet me, the first day I tell them I love them, they're like, yo, you know, how do you love me?
Yeah,
you know?
but I can imagine that might be the first time some people have heard that, genuinely.
Yeah.
And so even the impact of that makes it different than going to ITT type technology school where you are someone on the roster.
Yeah, exactly.
But your humanity is not considered.
Yeah, exactly. I want Focus to be different.
Yes.
I don't want us just to be a regular old program. I want us to show out that we love our students, that we care for people, and that we want to be there to help them. Yeah. That's the way I want Focus to be.
So I have 2 last questions for you. One is about collaborations. Do you have any that are notable that you want to bring forward, or are you in need of collaborations, right? Because you can't do all things well.
Yeah.
And there may be some other organizations that are doing pieces of what you need that you could partner with. Do you have any ones to bring forward?
Well, we do collaborate with Empower, Bite Back, Priscola's, Pass It On.
Oh, lots of collaborations.
Yeah, we
I did say ABC, but I'm waiting for that to come up.
I always leave the best for last.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
We definitely, one of the things that, and I'm glad you brought the ABC, y'all have really put us on the map. You don't know this, but when we first got started, we contacted Bernard.
Yes.
Bernard put us in contact with Comcast.
Yes.
Comcast gave us 10 Chrome computers.
Okay.
We didn't have anything.
Okay.
And then Comcast gave us $15,000 because of ABC.
Okay.
You all,
That's how it's supposed to happen.
You all are doing tremendous work.
If you are watching and you have community partnership where you feel like you can enhance the work here, we want to encourage you to reach out. The last thing is you've done such a great job keeping equity in the forefront of your work, which is why you're featured today on the Equity First series. I would like you to close with a success story, because we haven't really talked about, the real impact in the form of, give us one notable success story.
I'll start out. We had a young lady who went through the program. She was doing Instacart and Uber Eats. She was facing eviction. Didn't know what she was going to do as far as how she was going to pay her bills. And she went through the program, and finally she got a job offer making like $75,000 a year, right? When she was, didn't know what she was going to be doing. So that's one. We have another young lady. She got her certification, and then also she's going for a PMP. So she's going more certification. We also have a young lady. She won't mind if I mention her name, Miss Lucky. She's a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart person. She went through the program. She finished the training, but she didn't get her certification. But she was able to get a job making well over $60,000 a year. She's been there for 2 years now.
Okay.
They've given her raises and promotions. She loves it. She works from home.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
So, and then my prize and my joy in my heart is Melissa.
Okay.
Melissa, she got her certification. She was the first student to get her certification. She became a student partner, of course, and she had the opportunity to meet the lieutenant governor. She's there. I send her to all of our major events, ABC events, and all of that. She'll be at Charles Gala next year as
Okay.
well. So yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
looking forward to that.
Yes.
And now she's an instructor with Focus.
Yes.
And so we was able to put her on our salary as well. And we have one last one. We have one or two. We have one young lady who's in the first cohort with Melissa. She didn't get her certification, but we were able to hire her as a bookkeeper.
Okay.
So we're sending her to bookkeeping school as well.
All right.
So
we're building skill sets. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So then, and the last but not least, we hired the young lady. She didn't come to the program, but we hired her because she's a returning citizen, right? And she wasn't able to find a job. She has 2 teenage boys and things like that, single mom. And when I knowing her over the years and knowing her struggle, and I was like, what do you really want to do? You know, and she was like, I really want to be a professional. I want to get into the career. So we hired her, brought her on board, and we're teaching her to be a bookkeeper as well. And she's doing tremendous. She's on time. She works late at night. I'm getting text messages. How do you do this? And she works on the weekends.
Yes.
And she doesn't even have to. And I'm like,
yes.
Listen, get some rest. I love that. She's hungry.
Yes.
So we are changing lives.
Absolutely.
If we had $1 million, just imagine I could hire the right people, the professionals that I need to really run the organization and build the organization out. I can hire more instructors. I can hire our students to be instructors. And that $1 million will just be seed money, because once those companies kick in, that will grow the company. We won't have to worry about grant money. We won't have to worry about
It'll be
seed
sustainable.
money. Yes,
and
exactly.
this is what economic empowerment looks like.
Exactly.
Eric, I am so impressed with your story and with what you're doing with young people, young-ish people, 18 to 36 here in Baltimore. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also thank you for your commitment to Black people.
Yes.
I want to be unapologetic in pointing that out, that you're not just changing lives, which is admirable enough, but you're changing Black lives, which is necessary to advance Baltimore and necessary to advance equity nationwide.
Yes.
So
thank you so much. This is a pleasure. I love being here. I was so excited when you asked me to do this. I know you said Oprah Winfrey did this.
Yeah, you listen.
Lord.
Oprah Winfrey came before both of us, but yes, you're now on the list with the likes of Oprah. So thank you for participating, and thank all of you for joining us for the Diane Bell McCoy Equity First Speaker Series. For Associated Black Charities, I am Chrissy Thornton.